Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. This is Mic'd Up with Mary, and I am Mary. So today we are going to be talking about the reintroduction of the presidential fitness test. So, of course, on this channel, we start off with facts before we get into or we jump into our feelings. Okay, so the Trump administration just reintroduced this testing, but it was initially introduced in 1956 by President Eisenhower. So if Trump reintroduced this testing, that means it must have gone away, and it did. In 2012, the Obama administration introduced a different type of testing, which was called the Presidential Youth Fitness Program. All right, so let's get into what the presidential fitness testing actually is. So it has metrics that youth or adolescents test their health and fitness. So there's an endurance test, which is a 1 mile run, which I think is funny. As a long distance runner, 1 mile is not endurance, that's speed, but that's how they're measuring endurance is a 1 mile run. They're going to measure strength by sit ups, pull ups, and push ups. And then flexibility, they're going to do a sit and reach test. Now, there are some other testings involved, but that's the main ones. And I remember in high school doing the 1 mile run. Okay, so the presidential fitness testing is basically a competitive award because what you want to do is you want to be at or above the 85th percentile for your age and gender. Because if you reach that level, then you get an award. Where Obama's program is not competitive. So you're not competing against those in your age and gender. You actually set personal goals and then you achieve those personal goals. Okay, so why have this testing at all in public schools? Because we have an issue with children being severely overweight. So now we're going to get into some stats about childhood obesity. And hopefully I can say that word. I don't know, YouTube might be sensitive. But anyway, let's get into some stats. And I just went on the CDC to get these stats. So 1 in 5 children are severely overweight. That means their BMI is at or above the 95th percentile for their age and their gender. Okay, so the 95th percentile meaning that the child is heavier than 95% of the other children in their age and gender group. Okay, so that's what the percentile means. And then BMI is your body weight relative to your height. So is your body mass index is what BMI stands for. And on the CDC website, they break down the different categories of BMI and what it means. So if your child is in the 5th percentile, they are underweight. For them to be healthy, they have to be in the 5th to the 85th percentile. To be overweight, they have to be in the 85th to the 95th. And to be the old word, they have to be in the 95th or greater percentile. Okay. So, of course, they're going to break down this issue of children being severely overweight. So, of course, they're going to let you know that being severely overweight is based on your income, so lower incomes, and then also minorities tend to be more overweight than their white counterparts. Okay, so then they also bring it or classify it based on age. So roughly 13% of 2 to 5-year-olds fall into this severely overweight category. Roughly 21% is age 6 to 11, and then 22% is 12 to 19. Because remember, this is adolescence. So adolescence is defined up to 19 years old. All right, so they break it down even further. Of the races of children, who's going to have the most cases of being severely overweight? And that, surprisingly, is Hispanic, is 26%. Then it is Black is roughly 25%, white is roughly 17%, and then Asian is 9%. And then, of course, they're going to break that down further into uh, the gender, and 31% is black girls, and then 29% is Hispanic boys, which is surprising to me about the Hispanic boys. But I didn't grow up in a Hispanic community. I grew up in a black community. So I thought we would have the highest numbers in all of these categories, but we actually don't. It's Hispanic is more uh, overweight than black children. So that was kind of surprising. Okay, all right, so now we're going to get into a little bit of the feelings part of this video. So here are two videos. The first video is Trump signing the executive order to reinstate the testing, and then also a video of a doctor and his experience with this presidential fitness testing when he was young.
That is amazing. Good job.
This was the ultimate status symbol when I was a kid. This is the Presidential Physical Fitness Award. It was awarded during a ceremony in front of the whole school, only to those students who met the highest standards of excellence in physical fitness. For me, there's just one problem. It doesn't belong to me. No, I got this one. In fact, I got it every year. This is the award that was given to those who didn't quite make the cut in things like mile run, pull-ups, 50-yard dash. Truth be told, the sought-after blue award belongs to my much more athletic older brother. But I want to know what you guys think. Is this unbridled meritocracy a good idea to award excellence when it's deserved, or do you think that it breeds negative self-image?
All right, so let's get into the feelings part of this video. Okay, so let's address the elephant in the room. A lot of people don't like Trump, and they're not going to like anything that he puts into place, period, just because they don't like Trump, which is your prerogative. This is a free country. You can not like your president. And of course, they're going to criticize him, saying, hey, you're cutting other programs that help to promote health and wellness, and that would be free lunch, Medicare. He's revamping the SNAP program. So some people are like, if you're cutting those areas, why would you care about implementing this testing? Because health is based on being able to get healthy food, being able to exercise, being able to get out and do something, and also health, having access to health care. So they feel like if you don't care about those, if you don't care about health care, and you don't care about food and lower class people being able to get food, or lower income, not lower class, lower income people being able to get food, then why would you care about exercise? Okay. Other people are going to have issue with the BMI because there is definitely discussion about the BMI being a racist test. It's inaccurate because it's biased against shorter people and taller people. Is going to be biased against people who actually have a lot of muscle because, of course, they're going to weigh more. And some people just think it's fat phobic. And then some people are going to say there's better ways to measure obesity. So they're actually trying to introduce the BRI, which is body roundness. And what it does, it keeps part of the BMI, which is how tall you are based on how big you are, but they're also going to do your waist circumference, which means they're going to measure your waist because, of course, all health care professionals agree that abdominal fat is linked to increased risk of heart disease and diabetes. Okay, so basically they're like also measure their waist. That's important. Okay, so my feelings on this. Kids need to exercise. And should they be exercising in school? Absolutely. Especially in elementary school. I was not an elementary school teacher, but to have small children just sit all day at a desk, those kids need to get out and run around and play. Um, and I'm a sports person. I love physical challenges, and I believe exercise teaches discipline. Sports teach discipline. Now, what I like what I would like to see is both of the testings, the one that was reinstated by the Trump administration and the new program that was introduced by Obama, that you would keep both of those and you would allow the children to make the decision which test do you want to do, because you're going to have kids who are going to be competitive. It's just in them to be competitive. I myself am a competitive person, so I probably want to compare myself to those who are in my gender and age group. um, but then you're going to have people who are like, no, I really don't care what you're doing. That's none of my business. And they would rather set their own personal goals. And that's absolutely acceptable. Like, that's fine. You're going to have kids who are either one, because you have adults who are either one. Like, when I go out and race a race, I want to know how I did amongst all the women who are in my age group. Did I beat them? What place did I come in? But then I'm also setting personal goals, and I'm like, well, no matter how I did in my age group, okay, this is the time I want to hit for my half marathon. So I think both programs are good and both programs are needed. Now, my feelings about the BMI, um, I don't necessarily think is racist. Now, is it probably based on? So I believe the guy who came up with it uh, is a white man. So most things are based on the average uh, male, and I'm pretty sure the male is usually white. That's even like with gym equipment. It's not suited for women. They do it based on the average male. So yes, the BMI can have issues, but we're not so dumb as people to be like, you can't look at somebody and tell if they're uh, pretty overweight. Like, you can kind of tell without even measuring their waist. You can tell if they're not at their ideal weight. So, like I said, I like the idea of both of them. I'm definitely about kids getting out and at least just learning. Like, let them be able to choose if they want to be competitive against their peers, or they're like, hey, I just want to see what I can do. But we definitely have an issue with kids not getting enough exercise. And of course, that just trickle downs from what they see their parents doing. So, of course, parents have to work and then they get home and you got to start taking care of your kids. That's why I'm definitely like, at school, they need to be moving around as much as they can, even high school kids. And of course, most parents of high schoolers, you can encourage them to go into sports and do sports. And that's a whole nother video for a whole nother day about parents who are pushing their kids into certain sports because they're trying to live vicariously through their kid. You weren't a good baseball player, and somehow you believe your kid's going to be a good baseball player. So. But I'm all for kids working out. I have nieces and nephews, and I know um, I'm always trying to get them to be in sports. Uh, Definitely so I can go to their games and cheer them on. But yeah, you need to start teaching kids about fitness and wellness when they're young. So let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, and I will see you in the next video.